show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, good evening, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of The Fireplace Show. The Fireplace Show is a show sponsored by CVC Success Group, and the purpose of this is to share and information with consumers across America. In other words, we're a source to answer those burning questions that you may have about your fireplace, your wood stove, your chimney, different things like that. And that's our entire purpose. If you're listening to us, feel free to share this on your own social channels and let's get this information out to consumers. So this week, we're going to answer a couple questions because after our last show, I had a couple consumers that sent in some questions and I want to be able to answer them tonight, like I promised them I was going to be doing, to give them some in-depth explanations to answer their questions. Now, what I need to do, let me get my photos up here because I'm going to share some information with you this evening that I hope will be very helpful to you. And perhaps you've got customers, if you're in the business, that they're asking you questions about this thing. So the first thing we're going to deal with tonight is installation of a wood burning insert or stove utilizing a fireplace flue. In other words, this is where a lot of people want to have a wood burning appliance installed. And it could be for any number of reasons, but primarily it's going to be designed. The reason they're making this decision is to get more heat into the room and be able to use their fireplace as a heat source. So what you're looking at right now is three different diagrams. And you'll see I've titled each one number 1, number 2, and number 3. Well, see, back in the 70s and into the early 80s, whenever wood burning became popular in this country because of the fuel crisis we were in at that point, that's right, we had gas lines and people were worried about how they were going to heat their homes, and we were turning our thermostats down and all that. So all of a sudden, there was a guy by the name of Carol Butner up in Asheville, North Carolina, and he invented something and went to market with what was called a fireplace insert, which was basically a wood burning stove that was designed to be installed into a fireplace. And back in those early times, in the late 70s and through the early 80s, what was happening around the country is people were simply sliding these stoves into the fireplace, such as you see in the diagram where I pinpointed as number 1. They just naturally vented up through the chimney system. Sometimes they took the damper out, and sometimes they just opened the damper open and left it in there. Well, after a few years of this, there became problems noted from the field with excessive creosote buildup and also from a lot of chimney fires that were occurring. So the National Fire Protection Association, which is an association of people in fire prevention, fire departments, fire chiefs, building code officials, they looked real in depth at this, and they did a lot of studies into this. And as they studied this, the conclusion that was reached was that the smoke was just cooling too much. And the reason it was cooling because that fireplace flue system was just too big. So in 1984, they changed the standard for wood burning appliances that were going to be installed and using a fireplace flue such as that. And they came up at that time with the recommended minimum requirement that you run a short piece of connector pipe like you see in diagram number 2 from the top of the wood stove up to where the first flue in the system started at. Now, this was bypassing the firebox area and what we call the smoke chamber, which is the area between the fireplace throat and the flue itself. And what this gave us was a lot hotter flue gas temperatures, and it reduced a lot of the creosote and the problems. But it wasn't the best answer. Now, in order for that to be done, your flue could not be but so large. In other words, excessively large flues were still going to result in a lot of creosote buildup, with this type of installation. So at that point, they then came up that the best thing to do was to run that connector pipe all the way to the top of the chimney. It needs to be sized to fit the appliance. In other words, if the outlet on this unit is 8 inches, then we run an 8-inch pipe. If it's a 6-inch outlet, then we need a 6-inch outlet. Now, the direct connect, such as number 2, is still recognized as a minimum standard as long as the flue is not oversized. And what the standard says is that if the flue on an outside chimney is no more than 2 times the size of the outlet of the stove, you can still do the direct connect. Or if it is an interior chimney, it can be up to 3 times the size. However, this is a hard, cold fact. The direct connect, such as you see in number 2, is not going to give you the best performance by far, because it's still going to have an excessively large flue, and you're going to have a lot of creosote buildup and probably not the best performance out of your stove. So in today's world, in the fireplace and the hearth industry, it's considered that the best installation, if you want your appliance to operate efficiently, productively, do what it's supposed to do, that you always install it like you see in diagram number 3, where you run the liner all the way to the top of the chimney. And the whole idea is to keep the flue gases warm. And by properly sizing the flue, that's how we do it. Now, there's another ingredient here that we also take into play on this, and that is the insulation of that liner. Because again, what we're trying to do is keep the liner as warm as possible. So in most of the UL listed, which stands for Underwriters Laboratory listed products, you need to insulate that liner. And there's 2 recognized methods of installation. One method is going to be to wrap it with a ceramic wool blanket, which is a very high temperature ceramic insulation, like you're seeing the gentleman do there. And then it's wrapped with a stainless steel mesh. It's kind of like putting a sock over it to hold it intact. The other way of insulation is where we use a poured insulation that comes to us in bags. And the insulation is mixed up with water, and then it's poured around the liner down through the chimney. Both of these are accepted and approved methods of insulating a stainless steel liner. Another important thing is stainless steel has different alloys. So you need to make sure that you're using a stainless steel that is made out of the proper stainless steel. And this is down to the alloy. And what that means is it's actually going to be set up and it can handle the corrosive effects of the flue gases. The stainless steel alloys that are commonly used in the chimney and venting industry are going to be a 316 alloy. You'll also see a 304 alloy used and a 304L, and you'll also have a 321 alloy that is commonly used to vent a wood burning appliance. So these are the things that you're wanting to look for. And at the end of today's show, we'll talk about how do you find a competent person to come out and check and do these kind of installations for you, because that's what you're going to depend on, is getting someone locally to you. Now, like I said, I do not sell to consumers. I don't sell products. I don't sell services. My role is I work in the chimney and venting industry as a consultant, as a trainer, as a coach. So the advice I'm giving you is exactly how I teach sweeps to do this job in the field. So these are things to be aware of in order for your stove to give you proper performance and to give you the best use and use the least amount of wood. Because if you have an oversized chimney, you're going to use more fuel with it. So it's things that you want to look at as you're planning this out. And again, we're happy to answer any of these kind of questions in here. I'm going to give you a non-biased answer, and these answers don't provide me any return because, again, I don't sell product, I don't sell services, but I know chimney sweeps across America, and I know the kind of job that they want to do for their customers. So that's all about installing of a wood stove. Now, I got another question we're going to deal with, and that concerns creosote removal compounds, chemicals that you spray into the chimney. And the most common one we get asked about is the chimney sweeping log. And the reason we get asked so much about the chimney sweeping log is it is on television advertisements. You've probably seen it. Now, a chemical, what does it do? Will a chemical clean the chimney? No, it actually won't. What do the chemicals actually cause the creosote to dry up and curl? Now, it can fall from the system, which in actuality can be a problem because some consumers may have their chimney blocked up where the creosote actually falls to the bottom. Now, these chemicals also cannot inspect the chimney, which is one of the most important things that a chimney sweep technician is going to do, where they come out and do a thorough inspection of your chimney, which by the National Fire Protection Association standard in their recommendations should be done on an annual basis to all chimneys. Maybe they need cleaned once a year. Maybe heavy users may need it cleaned more than once a year. And a lot of people that are occasional users, hey, they may not need it cleaned for 2 to 3 or 4 years. But again, the important thing here is that we are sitting here and the chimney sweep, his job is to come out and inspect the chimney and doing you a great job. So anyway, just again, we want to help you with your questions and your answers. And we got another one coming up here that a lot of consumers have also asked me about, and that is factory built chimney. You know, all the time people referring to factory built chimney, and a consumer commonly will call it a triple wall chimney. And at one time, it was triple wall. But you can see I've got a lot of different samples of chimneys with pictures of them up above. When you look at number one in on your screen right now, that is a true triple wall chimney. And if we go back years ago, the triple wall chimney was what was commonly used. Now, what did you have here? You had two layers of air. And some of these chimneys, they had dead air spacing and where the air was stagnant in these lines. On others, it's what we call a thermosiphoning chimney, where the air actually moved between them. But the problem with the triple wall chimneys was they didn't stay hot enough to keep the flue gases warm. So we had a lot of problems in the field. And as we went through in 1984 to 1982, somewhere in that range, there's a government body called the Consumer Product Safety Commission that did a deep study into the use of factory built chimneys on wood burning appliances. And when they came and got done with their findings, their recommendations were such that on a wood burning appliance, it's recommended that you have a chimney system that is listed and tested to 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the triple wall chimney, like you see in number one, quite honestly, is a 1700 degree. It's actually not supposed to be used on a wood burning appliance in today's world. Now, as we went in through the 80s, metal chimneys, factory built chimneys, continued to evolve through the years. And what you're seeing in number two is you're seeing that is a triple wall system. However, between the inner liner and the first layer of metal, instead of being air, a ceramic blanket was installed into there. So we had air moving up the outside wall between the middle wall and the outside wall, but the inner wall was kept warm by the ceramic wool. But chimney continued to be modified and research done that today we're primarily seeing what you're seeing as photo number 3 illustrated right there. And in the illustration labeled as number 3, this is a double wall packed pipe system. And if you were to dissect this pipe, you would find that between the two walls, the inner and the outer wall, what we have here is that ceramic blanket. It's thicker than what you've got in number 2. And the whole principle here is to keep the interior of the pipe as hot as possible while we keep the exterior as cool as possible. Now, these type of chimneys all have clearance to combustibles, and usually you're going to find that you have a clearance of 2 inches, but that can vary by the manufacturer. So what you need to do if you're buying chimney systems and you're wanting to know information about them, make sure that you get a system that is listed and tested to 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. Whenever you penetrate a wall or you penetrate a ceiling, that's not for single wall pipe. That's where we transition to a factory built chimney system. Now, if you also see, I've got a chimney pipe there that's labeled as number 4. And number 4, the chimney you're looking at, is what's commonly used on a factory built wood burning fireplace. And in this, it is an inner and an outer wall. This pipe is not intended to be used with a wood burning stove or insert. This is for a factory built fireplace that's installed. And this pipe is specific to that particular fireplace. It's got to be listed and tested with it. Now, this is going to be one of the issues there. A lot of times people have older fireplaces and the chimney system may no longer be manufactured. As such, there's no parts available for many of these older chimneys. But this is for an open factory built wood burning fireplace. That's what we utilize. The chimney that you've got pictured, which is the number 4 chimney on the drawing. And I just shut it down. Let me take my screen sharing off here just a minute. And we'll get back and I'll be full screen on your screen there. So what the purpose again tonight, what we tried to share with you is some great knowledge that you can use to consider whenever you're installing your fireplace, a fireplace insert or a stove using a fireplace. The key thing is there's been a lot of changes in the venting standards. So what you're needing to do out there in the real world is you need to be able to find someone locally that can service you. And here's our recommendations when you look for a technician. Number 1, I always advise people, look at their Google reviews. Look to see how they're recommended and see if they answer the people that may come in and may issue a complaint at some time. So that's going to be a key thing. Look for their reviews, but you want to go further. There's a lot of training that chimney sweep technicians, wood stove installers go through this day and time. So what you want to do to be able to check and make sure that you've got what we call a certified technician to come to your home. So these are the places that we recommend you look for. One is the National Fireplace Institute, and the abbreviation for that is NFI. So what you want to do, if you want to look for someone that is certified by the National Fireplace Institute, you can go to their website. It is nficertified.org, and you can search for a certified person that works in your market area. Another place to look is the Chimney Safety Institute of America. They've got a certification program, and it involves continuing education to maintain your certification, just like with the NFI program. And if you want information on a CSIA certified chimney sweep, it's real easy. Go to the following website, www.csia.org. And there you'll find a zip code locator that you can type in and locate a person in your market area that's certified. Another great source to find a trained person is the Certified Chimney Professional Program. This is administered by the National Chimney Sweep Guild. And you can find information on these folks at www.ncsg.org. Now, also, the ncsg.org is the website for the National Chimney Sweep Guild, which is a national association of chimney technicians and their companies across America. So one of the things I also recommend when you hire somebody to come to your house, get a member of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. See, one of the things is all of these organizations, they have ethics agreements with their technicians. In other words, the people that are certified by these groups have signed a code of ethics, and they have a code of ethics to operate to. And, this is a common thing. Don't be surprised. Often a chimney sweep will come to someone's home, do an inspection, and often problems are found. And it's not because they're trying to sell anything. These problems are real, they are very real, and there's a lot of concealed dangers because people don't look at their chimneys a lot. And it may have never been checked because one of the bad things is very small percentage of American consumers actually call and have a qualified chimney technician, wood stove installer come into their home. But that's what you need to be looking for because you want to make sure that the person that comes to service your home, your chimney, your fireplace is skilled and proficient in what they do. So again, my name's Jerry Isenhour, and my company is CVC Success Group. And I would love to be able to answer your burning questions. If you look on the screen right now, you can see my email address, which gives you my contact information. So if you have burning questions about your wood stove, your fireplace, your gas logs, about water entry, about anything about your chimney, why don't you just send me an email? And what I'd love to do is answer your questions here on one of our weekly shows. Now, I'm going to encourage you, join us next week. We're going to have a special guest on next week. His name is Tom Urban. He's been a guest in the past. And next week, we're getting a lot of questions about something called a water stove, or it might be called an outdoor boiler. But these are wood burning appliances that are made to provide a home through the heating system and heat it with wood. So next week, Tom and we both have used these and I've sold these appliances in my past. We're going to come on and kind of explain what's involved with a wood fired outdoor boiler, a wood fired outdoor water stove. They may have different names that people call them, but we want to be sure and share information with you. So watch for our show next week as Tom Urban is my guest, and we're going to be talking about the outdoor boiler, the outdoor water stove, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our show the next time. Appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us, and I hope this was helpful information to you. With that, I'll see you on a future show. Reach out, let me know what questions we can answer for you.